think we're all three going to agree that, it's a fundamental human right for workers to gather together and refuse employers the fruits of their labour if they so choose. Does sometimes that become a kind of force that can be overused and misused, in your view?
I think, if anything, it's been underused over the past few decades. The number of days lost to strikes has gone down enormously since the 1970s. So there are fewer strikes than there were in the past. But I think the RMT is absolutely right to strike today and in coming days too, because, these are people who are standing up for their pay, their right to be paid in accordance with inflation. They're standing up for job security, and they're standing up for their pensions. And the inconvenience, we all regret the inconvenience that is being caused by these strikes. Of course, the RMT does itself as well. But it's precisely the level of inconvenience that is being caused, which shows how central these workers are to the smooth functioning of society. And when you are that central to the smooth functioning of society, you should be rewarded well, you should feel secure in your job, and you should feel like a respected member of the workforce. So the inconvenience being caused is proof of how important these workers are and how much respect they deserve.
I've got a feeling you take the view that the inconvenience, when the rail industry is not as essential as it once was because of Zoom and Skype, and obviously, the car's an alternative as well, means that they might be cutting their nose off to spite their face.
Well, absolutely. Certainly, I think rail workers are about to find out that they don't have the same stranglehold on the economy that they once did. But I also worry that this sort of action is self-defeating. The cost of living crisis is clearly a very real thing. I was talking to a local Tesco manager the other day, and they were noting, how the kind of person shoplifting has gone from young teens stealing cider to young mums stealing chicken and mince, because just to feed their kids. So we all know, I hope, that, and I'm not trying to deny the pressure that family budgets are under, but what we also know is that when you react to a temporary inflation problem by asking for inflation-beating wages, you get into an inflation spiral that benefits no one in the end. And so, while I can understand why workers are wanting to strike, I'm disappointed that union leaders of the left, and people like Brendan, who I normally agree with, actually what we should be looking for is long-term compensation for workers from recent difficulties, not short-term wage demands, which is going to turn a temporary spike in inflation potentially to a long-term inflation problem, and then we'll be stuck in this problem as we were in the 1970s for an extended period of time.
Brendan, is it going to become a political row that some Labour MPs have taken to the picket lines? How could they do any other?
I think they should go to the picket lines. The clue is in the name. The Labour Party was founded to represent the interests of Labour, which it hasn't been doing for a very long time, by the way. I'm quite struck by the fact that radical leftists around the Labour Party now support the working classes when they want to take back control, but they didn't support working class voters who wanted to take back control in the referendum 6 years ago. I think that's very, very interesting as an indication of when we support working class people and when we don't. But, just listening to Tim there, I agree with some of his points, but this discussion makes me uncomfortable for the following reason. Most of the people on strike today earn, on average, around £30,000 or £31,000 a year. That is, I would say, I don't want to be presumptuous, I would say that's less than us three earn. And here we are having a discussion about whether they have the right to take action to ensure that they can carry on earning that wage. That makes me uncomfortable. And when you look at the political class, and Boris Johnson, for example, saying that these people are causing harm by not allowing others to get to work. This is a man who, in the first lockdown, prevented people by law from going to work for 3 months. And he wants to get on his high horse about rail workers who are hampering people's ability to get to work for 3 days. The political class work from home in their digital luxury pads. Some of them still are. I don't think we should take lectures from them about whether working class people should take action to defend pretty modest wages.
Just on a point of clarification, the question that we put is, are trades unions a force for good? My opening gambit was to say, we three certainly don't feel for a second that nobody hasn't got a right to strike. Clearly, of course they've got a right to strike. But you raise, Brendan, an important point, I think, about who's affected by this, who's fit to commentate on it. I mean, I take the view, and I think you do too, that everybody can comment on whatever they like. Whether we're somehow rendered less reliable witnesses to it because we earn a certain amount of money, I don't know. Tim, what I do know, because you've pointed out already, is that the people who are on the buses today are not the highly networked, highly credentialed, and yes, Brendan's got a point, relatively highly paid people like us. It's the cleaners, etc., etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And I take Brendan's point that, you know, a lot of the people who are striking earn less than probably all three of us. But, you know, all of us also, I think, know that the people who are most inconvenienced by this strike earn even less than the people who are striking. They are cleaners. They are people who have no choice but turn up to work. I'm lucky I've got friends in London who've been able to put me up in their basement, and it's very comfortable. Lots of people aren't, you know, as well connected. I know someone who's going to have to fork out an extra £100. They live, you know, just about an hour outside of London. That extra £100 they're going to have to fork out in order to get into London for work that is essential will probably mean real squeeze on the family budget for the whole of the next month. That £100 for them means a lot. So we can, you know, all trade, you know, very real sob stories about the people at, you know, the lower end of the income spectrum are suffering from this. And I think the key issue is, does this actually protect workers or not? I think because of the impact this is going to have on the rail industry, because of the inflation spiral it could kick off, this is not a good strike.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.